Hello and welcome to the Dot Connector. Nice to be back after a little break. But what's changed really? Well, the extreme nature of it has moved on, but the story remains the same. Back in the 1990s, I coined a phrase, problem, reaction, solution, in which you covertly create a problem, blame someone else for it. And at stage 2, you're looking for a reaction from the public, which basically says, do something about the problem you have covertly created. And that allows you at stage 3 to offer the solution to the problems you have created, but blame someone else for. And events like 9/11 are monumental examples of problem, reaction, solution, where you create the problem and then your solution is devastation, mayhem, death and destruction in the Middle East as a reaction to the people you blame for it. And I looked at events in Los Angeles, and quite blatantly, it's a problem, reaction, solution. You know, I look on as I observe the hijacked, as I would say, alternative media, which has regressed from knowing that we live in one-party states and that there is a force that works through all the parties with any chance of forming a government. And yet now, the regression has reached the point where I'm seeing the so-called alternative media saying that the deep state is the Democrats, is the left. It's pathetic to behold, really. We have this global cult, this global network of secret societies, fiercely compartmentalized themselves, so only the inner core knows the real story, that don't just work through the left, they work through all sides to bring about a desired outcome, which is dystopia. So I observe the unfolding sequence in Los Angeles. First of all, the Trump government sends in the ICE border police, very high profile, blatantly in your face, to target migrants at their workplace that they say are illegal. And you select your target as Los Angeles in California because you know you're going to get a reaction there. You're going to get people who are going to respond to what they think is injustice, and they're going to go out on the streets in protest. You know that. And so that's what you do. And you've got your ICE border police headed by this buffoon, barely one-dimensional Tom Homan, and he's perfect for the job. You know you're going to get a reaction to that. And no doubt you've put some agent provocateurs in there to do some of the more extreme stuff that will get on the TV news and wind up much of the country. And you have in plain sight the waving of Mexican flags, which is going to really wind up people on the so-called right, because they're going to say it's an invasion, go back to your own country and all that. And then as a result of the protests and some work by agents provocateurs, no doubt, you then say, oh, we can't have this problem. Reaction, do something. Solution. You send in the military, 4,000 National Guard troops, 700 Marines as I speak, and you say, we've got to put down this insurrection. Even though, yes, there has been violence and cars set on fire, but the great majority of protesters will have done that peacefully, but you don't talk about them. And so you set a precedent, which is what you're setting out to do, whereby when there are protests against what you are doing, which people have, whatever their view, have every right to do peacefully, then the precedent is you're going to send the boys in. And that's what tyrants do. That's what emerging tyrannies do, which is what we have in the United States. So anyway, before we get into this, here's a report on some of what's been going on in LA.
Over the past 72 hours, pockets of LA descending into chaos. Protesters setting cars on fire, dumping bikes and scooters on police cruisers on the highway. Law enforcement firing hundreds of flashbangs and non-lethal projectiles and making dozens of arrests. It got so heated in the streets that a British photographer needed emergency surgery after being struck by a non-lethal projectile.
Moving them on through the...
And there was this moment. Watch as a correspondent for 9 News Australia
You just shut the...
reporting on the protest when an officer hits her with a rubber pellet. And tonight, an escalating war of words between California Governor Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump. Newsom suing the president for creating the conditions for this chaos when he sidestepped California officials to deploy thousands of National Guard troops.
Are you going to deploy Marines in California?
We hope to have the support of Gavin because Gavin's the big beneficiary as we straighten out his problems. I mean, his state is a mess.
Newsom then slammed by Trump and border czar Tom Homan for his response to the unrest. Homan initially suggesting the governor should be arrested, something Trump seemed to support just hours ago.
I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great. Gavin likes the publicity, but I think it would be a great thing. He's done a terrible job.
Newsom responding again, calling that an unmistakable step toward authoritarianism. I asked Homan about that.
If Gavin Newsom crosses whatever threshold it is and violates the law, do you have the authority to arrest him or
we'll add, if he broke the laws like any other U.S. citizen, we'll ask the Attorney General to investigate, and they'll prosecute. Tom Homan's not going to prosecute.
Spontaneous clashes began Friday as federal agents conducted multiple operations in and around Los Angeles. By Saturday, protests, mostly peaceful, grew larger when agents were seen staging in nearby Paramount, California. And by Sunday, a convoy of heavily armed and camouflaged troops arrived.
So the point is that this global cult works through both the left and the right to create this pincer movement to hijack the perceptions of the population and to justify the imposition of military involvement that without the problem you couldn't justify. And it's kind of hilarious in a perverse kind of way to see the left, which denies conspiracies when they're in power, suddenly discovering conspiracy. Oh, Trump's doing it because of this. Yeah, I agree. But when Biden and Obama and anyone else is in power of the left, you Can't see a conspiracy. They're the conspiracy nuts who are saying it's a conspiracy. And then you've got the right. Oh, dear. Beam me up, mother. It's mad down here. You've got the right who talk about conspiracies, many of them quite rightly, but then when their guy gets into power, they stop seeing them. And so the left and the right are mirrors of each other. I'll give you an example. We saw in that clip Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, being all prim and proper. Oh, it's tyranny. Yeah, I think it is. But this is a story from the time of COVID. Governor Newsom activates National Guard to bolster state's COVID-19 testing capacity. Governor Gavin Newsom today announced that he has activated the California National Guard to support local communities with additional testing facilities and capacity amid the national surge in COVID-19 cases driven by the Omicron variant. Now, that, you'll remember, was the variant of the variant. California has led the country's fight against COVID-19, implementing first-in-the-nation public health measures that helped save tens of thousands of lives. Bullshit, said Governor Newsom. We continue to support communities in their response to COVID-19 by bolstering testing capacity. And it goes on about that how he's implemented a series of measures, including a vaccine and masking measures requiring that workers in healthcare settings be fully vaccinated. What have been the health consequences for them, Mr. Newsom? So basically, the left and the right, in terms of the controlling force working through them, are two cheeks on the same backside. And this is the thing. If you're going to bring in a great reset, which is what the whole idea is, a complete transformation of human society, well, you have to destroy the status quo. Because while the status quo's there and is not moving, your great reset can't transform society. And what Trump's role in this great reset, deep state agenda is to create, and he's brilliant at it, chaos. Chaos and upheaval. He's doing it with the tariffs and in so many other ways, because he's destroying the status quo. This Doge thing and Musk and what have you, this all part of destroying the status quo and ushering in a dystopia based on control by artificial intelligence. Something I've been warning was the plan for decades. And what you are doing is this. The left has pretty much gone with the AI agenda, whereas the right was very skeptical of it. So you've got to bring them in so that they come on board with what they formerly would have pushed back on. And so you bring forward Trump, that is circled by this big tech oligarchy like Peter Thiel and others in Silicon Valley, Palantir. And you basically, through Trump, tell your base, your target audience, MAGA, what they want to hear. But that's the cover for bringing in the Great Reset and the AI society. And I saw this post this week by a MAGA stalwart, a lady called Laura Loomer, who said, "Time to deploy Palantir to Los Angeles to deal with illegals. You know you'd love to see it. You're lying if you say you wouldn't." Well, that's a kind of a classic example of what I'm talking about. You have the right of the alternative media that has for years and years said and warned about this AI control system and about the surveillance system and the Chinese social credit system. And now you have one of them, and she will be far from alone, that's calling for Palantir to come in to oversee surveillance. And we also have Palantir being hired not just by ICE, the border police, but hired by the Trump regime in general to bring together all the different databases so you have one massive database through which you can assimilate all the information from endless sources on every individual in your population. And this is problem, reaction, solution extraordinaire. And what is Palantir? It's a CIA seed-funded company that provides surveillance and data processing technology for the American government, yes, but other governments like Israel, like the UK, etc., and for intelligence agencies and the military. And two of the people that run Palantir are a guy called Peter Thiel, who is everywhere, and another guy called Alex Karp. And they're both on the steering committee of the Bilderberg Group. And the Bilderberg Group is a globalist, deep state operation, and they are being employed to bring in this Orwellian system by those like Trump and the MAGA media that claim to be against all this stuff. It makes no sense. And the reason it doesn't is because what you're really looking at is this cult playing out through both sides, including the side headed by Trump that claims to be against the deep state when they're a servant of it. So it just so happens that this big, beautiful bill that Trump is trying to push through includes provision to ban the states of America from regulating artificial intelligence for 10 years, which by then, this system will have been put into place. And here we have a story about this technology and Palantir. Palantir to build centralized database on Americans. The Trump administration is quietly assembling a centralized data infrastructure on the American population. To build it, they've enlisted Palantir, a powerful data mining company with deep ties to the intelligence world. Co-founded by Peter Thiel, Trump's longtime ally and mega donor, Palantir was originally seeded by the CIA to help the government make sense of large, fragmented data sets. And here's an article by John Whitehead. He's a constitutional lawyer, attorney, and a veteran campaigner for freedom. And the great thing about John is that he looks at a situation dispassionately and not from an ideological point of view, in the sense of I'm a Trump supporter, so Trump can do no wrong, which is what MAGA does, especially the MAGA media. So the headline of his article is Trump's Palantir-powered surveillance is turning America into a digital prison. President Trump's plan to fuse government power with private surveillance tech to build a centralized national citizen database is the final step in transforming America from a constitutional republic into a digital dictatorship armed with algorithms and powered by unaccountable, all-seeing artificial intelligence. This, MAGA, if you bloody remember, was what you were once pushing back on. And what Elon Musk is fundamentally involved in doing with many others. But as soon as he buys Twitter, you fall to your bloody knees instead of calling him out for what he's doing and John Whitehead is talking about. This isn't about national security, John says, it's about control. According to news reports, the Trump administration is quietly collaborating with Palantir Technologies, the data mining behemoth, co-founded by billionaire Peter Thiel, to construct a centralized government-wide surveillance system that would consolidate biometric, behavioral, and geolocation data into a single weaponized database of Americans' private information. This isn't about protecting freedom, it's about rendering freedom obsolete. What we're witnessing, he says, is the transformation of America into a digital prison, one where the inmates are told we're free while every move, every word, every thought is monitored, recorded, and used to assign a threat score that determines our place in the new hierarchy of obedience. Now, if this was being done by the Democrats or the left, then the right would be furious. It would be screaming conspiracy, dystopia, deep state. But because their man Trump is doing it, it's okay. Fortunately, there are many who have been in the MAGA who are beginning to see it now. John says this puts one more step along the road to China's dystopian system of social credit scores and Big Brother surveillance. The tools enabling this all-seeing surveillance regime are not new, but under Trump's direction, they are being fused together in unprecedented ways, with Palantir at the center of this digital dragnet. In this new regime, your innocence will be irrelevant. The algorithm will decide who you are and if you're guilty. So Trump's embrace of Palantir and its unparalleled ability to fuse surveillance feeds, social media metadata, public records, and AI-driven predictions marks a dangerous evolution, a modern-day resurrection of main core, digitalized, centralized, and fully automated. What has emerged is a surveillance model more vast than anything dreamed up by past regimes, a digital tyranny in which every citizen becomes both observed and self-regulating. So this is happening under Trump, who said he was against all this. But that's how they play the perceptual game. Trump wouldn't do that. He's against all that. So Palantir is headed by this guy, Peter Thiel, and Alex Karp. And this is Alex Karp speaking to Palantir shareholders. I wonder if you really would want this guy surveilling and controlling your life.
Alex, as always, we have a lot of individual investors on the line. Is there anything you'd like to say before we end the call?
We're doing it. We're doing it. And I'm sure you're enjoying this as much as I am. Let's not talk to analysts about the burden of being right, our burdens of investing in ontology, our burdens of actually looking at the math, the burden of reading what the Rule of 40 is, the burden of being honest about what an enterprise software company is, or the burden of explaining to your friends that you're really happy. Maybe we should just stop talking about it. I'm very happy to have you along for the journey, and you are partners for us. Every Palantirian, we are crushing it. Everyone else who's listening, we are dedicating our company. We have dedicated our company to the service of the West and the United States of America, and we're super proud of the role we play, especially in places we can't talk about. And we love our success in the U.S. and globally. Also, we are doing in the United Kingdom and many other places. Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world, and when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them. And we hope you're in favor of that. We hope you're enjoying being a partner, and we're really happy and very, very focused on what we're doing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That concludes Q&A for today's call.
And Palantir have been using their technology to support Israel's war slaughter in Gaza. And here, Alex Karp was challenged on that. Lovely man.
That a few people get wealthy, and if you said platitudes that were obviously stupid, you could...
You're getting wealthy off of killing Palestinians. With Palantir kills Palestinians with their AI and technology.
Oh.
You're killing my family in Palestine.
Yeah. And,
How do you sleep at night?
Well, if you...
Shame on you.
Do you want to hear my answer?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So, I think the primary cause of death to Palestinians... Okay, do you want to hear the answer, or do you want to yell? Well, you don't want to hear an answer? Obviously. So the primary source of death in Palestine is the fact that Hamas has realized that there are millions and millions of useful idiots that will...
Can we get security up there?
Okay. Your AI and your technology from Palantir kills Palestinians.
Mostly terrorists, that's true.
No.
She believes I'm evil. I believe she's an unwitting product of an evil force, Hamas. That she unwittingly is part of their strategy, that she is a product. And the most important thing, arguably, in the book, or what Palantir, or what you could learn, is do not become a product of an ideology that sounds sensible.
Alex Karp, the ultimate useful idiot who follows an ideology that seems sensible to him. And Peter Thiel was also questioned at another event about Palantir's support for Israel's nightmare attacks on Gaza, where they're using their technology to identify targets. Now, Peter Thiel thinks of himself as some kind of intellectual giant. I wonder if you do after watching this.
Look, I'm not, without going into all the I'm not on top of all the details of what's going on in Israel because my bias is to defer to Israel. It's not for us to second guess everything, and I believe that broadly the IDF gets to decide what it wants to do, and that they're broadly in the right, and that's sort of the perspective I come back to. And if I fall into the trap of arguing you on every detailed point, I would actually be conceding the broader issue that the Middle East should be micromanaged from Cambridge, and I think that's just simply absurd. And so I'm not going to concede that point.
So these are the sort of clowns who are building the dystopian state on behalf of the hidden masters who they answer to. And like all dictators, Trump is having a military parade to mark his and the military's birthday, while telling anyone who thinks of protesting against this self-indulgence and enormous cost that they will be subjected to very big force. And he also wants to jail anyone who burns the American flag to be sentenced to a year in jail. And he said this while talking to troops and completely politicizing the military, getting them to boo the Democrats and cheer what he was saying, which the military should be completely neutral, but not under Trump. That's not what he's there to do. So here he is wanting to jail people for burning the American flag.
But they proudly carry the flags of other countries, but they don't carry the American flag. They only burn it. Did you see a lot of the flags being burned? They weren't being burned by people from our country or from people that love our country. People that burn the American flag should go to jail for 1 year. That's what they should be doing. 1 year. And we'll see if we can get that done. We're going to try and get that done. We're working with some of your senators. I know Senator Josh Hawley is very much involved.
Whenever I hear this come up, and it does from time to time, they should jail people for burning the flag, always reminds me of a wonderful clip by the great comedian, no longer with us, unfortunately, Bill Hicks, when he was responding to an earlier demand for consequences for those who burn the flag.
Thank you. I'm sick of this shit, man. It's ridiculous. Our emotions are running wild and our mind is stopped, man. The flag burning thing. Oh, God, did that bring up some fucking retarded emotions? The flag! The flag! They didn't say that. They said if a guy burns the flag, he perhaps doesn't need to go to jail for a fucking year. Pretty harsh on their part, isn't it? People are going, hey, buddy, let me tell you something. My daddy died for that flag. Really? I bought mine. You know, they sell them at Kmart and shit. Yeah, $3. He died in the Korean War for that flag. What a coincidence. Mine was made in Korea. Didn't die for a fucking flag. It's a piece of cloth. He died for what the flag represents, which is the freedom to burn the fucking flag. And as my friend Jimmy Pineapple would say, case fucking closed.
The voice of sanity. And you know, one of the conspiracies that's been flying around over the years is that Alex Jones is Bill Hicks. Well, when you see Alex Jones cheering on and promoting this Trump regime, given where it's taking not just America, it's designed to take the world in that direction as well, towards tyranny. And then you see Bill Hicks pushing back on it when he was alive. Alex Jones is no Bill Hicks. And here we have now the increasing emphasis on attacking Iran. And it's coming, of course, from Israel. And so we have this story. Trump confirms US personnel are being removed from parts of the Middle East. President Donald Trump confirmed that United States personnel are being moved out of parts of the Middle East amid escalating tensions with Israel and Iran. The State Department ordered the departure of all non-essential staff from its embassy in Baghdad, Iraq, due to concern over increased security risks in the region, according to two State Department officials familiar with the matter. Another US official said that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has authorized the voluntary departure of military dependents from locations across the Middle East. Trump's comments come as the administration has worked to reach a deal with Tehran to limit its nuclear program. The two sides have held several rounds of talks, but have not come to an agreement. No, because that's not the idea. You have Trump's special envoy on the Middle East, a Jewish real estate developer called Steve Witkoff. So he's obviously going to be unbiased in what he does. And Trump, like Witkoff, is owned by Israel. And Israel wants a conflict, has long wanted a conflict with Iran. So this is Trump replying to a question from a journalist about why the personnel are being removed from the Middle East.
Could you provide an update on Iran? We're hearing reports that U.S. personnel are being moved out of the region within striking distance.
Well, they are being moved out because it could be a dangerous place, and we'll see what happens. But they are being, we've given notice to move out, and we'll see what happens.
Is there anything that can be done to dial the temperature down in the region?
They can't have a nuclear weapon, very simply. They can't have a nuclear weapon. We're not going to allow that.
You know, there's a saying, a motto for the 33rd degree of Freemasonry. It's ordo ab chaos, order out of chaos. Create the chaos problem and offer the solution to the chaos. And that is problem, reaction, solution, perfectly described. And what Trump is doing is systematically creating the chaos, the dismantling of the status quo in every direction. So that's the public part of the Dot Connector this week. And to see the rest, and my goodness me, there's a lot happening, go to iconic.com every Thursday after 5 p.m. UK.